Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of... That's not gonna work, is it? Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Go Ahead and Make Me. It's the second Christmas episode. We're gonna do some paper piecing this time, and I hope you'll join me. And let's go!
Go ahead and make me.
So, Christmas 2020. Yeah, what a year it's been. Probably not a year to remember fondly for a lot of people. But that doesn't mean we can't still have a lovely Christmas and make the most of it. Today we're going to do some paper piecing, and if you've never done that before, it may sound a little bit strange. What it is actually a type of patchwork that you have your pattern and then you sew the pieces of the design onto the paper itself, and then you assemble the whole thing. It sounds weird or complicated perhaps, but I'll show you how to do it, and it's very easy. I think most people would be able to do it with no problem. And the results are, well, I can show you that right away, because the patterns that I have here are for 3 different designs of Christmas trees, and I've made that into a table runner for your Christmas party or just decorative, whatever. You can make it as long or as short as you like. You can use all kinds of combinations of colors and of patterns. As you see, I've used mostly just greens and blues. That same pattern can also be used to make this a wall hanging. It's a decorative wall hanging to cheer up the place a little bit. And then again, the same patterns, but printed out at a reduced percentage, because of course you need them smaller for this. You can make Christmas cards even out of them, like so. There's just 2 examples of the same, using the same design as the table runner. These are though stuck on with glue. I didn't on the carton itself. I still did sew them, but the end result I just put on a card. And you can use it either as a Christmas card. You can even make it as a Christmas menu card. If you have people over for a Christmas dinner, then you can write your menu on it. So there's that. The patterns, there's 3 of them. I call it the tremendous trees. Tremendous trees. There's 3 of them, and you can download them for free as a PDF file. And I'll show you how to do it. It's not hard at all. So let's get started. Once you've downloaded the PDF files of the pattern, you will see, I'll just use the first one as an example, this one. You will see that it's divided up into letter groups, the pattern. For instance, in here you have A1, A2, A3. Then it goes on B1, B2, B3, etc. The first thing we do is cut out the patterns in their groups. So everything that's A, we will cut out in one piece, then everything that's B in one piece, etc. I like using these gigantic scissors for cutting through paper. They're nice and sharp. So here we have piece, the first piece, which contains all the A pieces, right? And so we'll continue to that with the entire pattern until we've got all the groups cut out. Now, while I'm cutting, let me tell you how I actually came to design this piece. My mother, she used to do a lot of knitting and crocheting and making things out of fabric and making clothes for us kids in the 70s. And she used to have this magazine, and I always loved the November and December issues of the magazine, because they would always have these fantastic things to make that you could make, and you know, things that I was probably too small to make myself, but it would always get me really excited for Christmas. And I would always ask my mother, oh, can you make this, can you make that? And I just remember there was this one wall hanging thing made out of fabric, which is not dissimilar to this. And this is what I remember it look like, that it had these sort of uneven bits of the branches of the trees in different combinations. And so this is what I tried to recreate here. Yeah, so I'm probably in the end stealing someone's work, but it's 4 decades later, so I think it'll be all right. Plus it won't be the exact same pattern. The other thing that I remember that my mother once did make, because usually she was too busy to make any of those things, but then in one of the issues they had a pair of mittens that were knitted, and they had on the tops of them, on the tops of their hands, they had these lion faces on them, and I wanted them so bad. I don't know why, I just fell in love with them, and so my mom finally did agree to make them for me, and I wore them for years, even when I was already a bit too old to still be wearing them, I think. I tried looking online to see if anyone has, if I could find a photograph of that particular pair of mittens. I didn't find the exact same pair, but I did find something that looked very similar. So yeah, it's not quite the same, but it looked something like this. So when we've now got all the pieces, I'll show you what to do next. As you can see, the pieces have now been cut out by group, by letter group I should say, which ends up looking like this. Now you'll have to identify which pieces are which, in the sense that these pieces and the ones on the outer bits, they're going to be the night sky over there, and then this, obviously the rest of it is the tree. This is the stem of the tree. You can make this any color you want. In fact, you can make all of it any color you want, but for instance you would have a piece of brown textile, brown material to use for this. Then for this you would have, if you are going for a night sky, you would have black material, or if you might even make a daytime one and use blue material. Then for the tree bits, I used alternate fabrics. I'll show you right here. See, those are alternate pieces. So in total for this piece you will need 4 different fabrics. So let's go get them. Paper piecing is basically like assembling a puzzle with pieces of fabric. Yeah, it's pretty much like that, really. As long as you follow the pattern, nothing much can go wrong. So the first piece will be A1. Chose this one, not a brown color in the end, I chose a dark green. I'm going to put it behind the bit that says A1. Now you should make sure that when you cut out a piece that you have plenty of margin around the piece, because you need to attach it to the other pieces, so you're going to need plenty of room for all that. This also shows you that it's a great project for scraps and leftovers of material that you might have. Now, after A1, of course, comes A2. And this is the fabric for that. It's the one that I chose for the night sky. The thing is that what you must remember is that the back of the pattern is actually going to be the end result that you're going to be looking at. So all the fabric needs to end up with the print upward like this. Now, to attach this piece to this, we're going to do that on the machine. In fact, I've been doing this by hand for a long time as well. You can do it by hand. It's just a lot more work, I suppose. The idea is that you put this piece here, and then on the machine you sew this line, so everything gets attached, the paper and the pieces of fabric. Now once that's attached, you turn it around and then you fold the piece like that. I will show you again when it's actually sewn together. So this is how you end up with the pieces with the right side up at the back, on the back of it all. And that's the principle of paper piecing. It might still sound intimidating, but I assure you, once you've done it a few times, you'll get the hang of it, and you'll start to enjoy it as well, I'm sure. So once again, this is your basic first piece of material from on which the others get attached. So this is A2. Make sure that you do the print side like so, because we're going to fold it over, right, and end up with this. Okay, let's put it under the machine. Here we go, attaching A1 to A2. I always like to give it a back stitch or two, just for security. And so these are the two pieces now together with the paper, as you can see. Snip off the ends. And now, the big trick, ta-da, is that we fold it over like so. See, so that the entire A2 piece is covered. See? And we do the same thing with the A3 piece. Put it here. Make sure it will cover the piece when it's folded over, right? So then we attach that. You don't want it all to unravel in your hands. And then we fold this over. That's what it looks like. that's your whole first piece. Now, eagle-eyed viewers will have noticed that I use blue thread, and that's just for the sake of visibility. It might be more logical to use black thread on black fabric, and of course it is, but for me it's just easier when I use dark blue, because I still make a lot of mistakes, and that way it's just easier to unpick it. And also for the sake of the camera, it picks up the blue easier for you to view. Now we have our first piece sewn together. That's what it looks like. Make sure it's folded down properly. You can use any blunt object to do that. Okay, so what we want is for the piece to have a margin, seam allowance of, I take about 3/8 of an inch, and of course people who are good sewers, they use accuracy, and you know, they will measure it off perfectly, use a rotary cutter, and sometimes I do that too, but I'm such a rebel that I just cut it by hand, because I know the feel of 3/8 of an inch by now, so because I've used it as a seam allowance many times, so I know exactly how to cut it. And even if it's not super accurate, it'll be accurate enough. There we go. Purists will probably now be clutching their pearls, and that's absolutely fine by me. And there we go. Now, the seam allowance now is close enough to 3/8 of an inch, I'm pretty sure. What we do want to do though, even after that, is cut off any excess fabric, because we don't want it to be bulky in any way. So for instance, these pieces behind the seam, they can be easily cut off because we don't need them, right? So that's what we do, get rid of them. Up. Right, and the same on the other side, even though we have a lot less here, but still. There we go. So that's the first piece. I will make the second piece with you as well, just to show it all again. After that, I'm pretty sure you can manage the rest of it. All right, let's do piece number 2. So, second piece. This is actually the first tree piece, or I should say branches of the tree. So this is the first fabric that we're using, that we're going to alternate with another fabric to create the tree. As you can see, it actually has little trees or ferns on it. So yeah. The other 2 pieces are going to be the night sky behind the tree. So I've already cut them. This will be here, and this will be here. So again, make sure that you have enough margin on every side of the pattern. And then first we'll attach this one on the machine and the other one Let's do that. Okay, did that. Sewn both pieces, B2 and B3 onto B1. And again, I'm going to fold them over and use something blunt because you don't want to damage the fabric, to fold it down like so. And on the other side, there we go. So we got that. What we do now is go around and cut off the excess fabric there, giving it the same seam allowance, and again, actually I forgot this side, so let's do that as well. There we go. And then again, we're getting rid of the excess fabric that we don't need. Just be careful you don't cut away the good fabric, of course. So this is the outside, this is the actual side that we're going to be looking at. So everything behind there is excess and we can get rid of. There. And do the same thing here. The margin that you use here doesn't really matter that much. It's just a question of preventing this whole area to, you know, that it doesn't become bulky. That's really the purpose of it. So we have A and B. This is how they will end up together, like so. As you can see, this is the start of the tree and the first branches. They will eventually be sewn together like that, and then you'll have them like this. See? And that's how the whole pattern works. So this is A and B sewn together, and I've also already done the C part. That's what it looks like put together. Now, as for the others, the three top pieces, I've already assembled them as well. So all we do now is sew these together, and once the whole thing is complete, we're ready to remove the paper. Here's the whole thing put together, as you can see. That's what the final result looks like. So now we're going to remove the paper. Shouldn't be hard, because of course by sewing these pieces you've perforated the paper, so it's just a question of tearing it off. Still be gentle, because you don't want to accidentally rip any of the seams, but for the most part it should be easy peasy. There you go, goes very easy. There you go. So this is the finished product of the first design. It's just one panel of 3. Of course you can make endless combinations of those 3. For the table runner I just kept them as is, and I just attached them to each other. For the, I'll just show you, for the wall decoration, this one, I've embellished it with some sequins, as you can see, just to give it a little bit of sparkle. These are actually really good sequins, because they're not like the usual metal glittery one. These have a more, I don't know if it becomes visible. They have a more, there we are, a more mother of pearl type sheen to them, so they're not as glittery as the normal sequins you would find. So I just put them here and there over the trees, as you might use them as an indication of little lights or baubles. And of course you can embellish the panels any way you want. You can make them as glittery as you want, or as gaudy as you want, or keep them just really simple and just like that. It's still very effective. The final piece doesn't need to be hung on a wall per se. You can also put it at the back of a door, as you can see. It looks great. If you want to make any of the items, be it the Christmas cards or the table runner or the wall hanging, yeah, I'd love to see the results if you do make them. You can email me, you can subscribe to Facebook and to Instagram. All the links are below in the description, and I'd love to hear from you. Thanks. Say bye-bye, Orson. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.